here, we're back with another chapter of Meeting Up the Minds by LizzeXX. We're on chapter 11, and if you want to follow along, which I highly recommend, chapter link will be in the description below for both fanfiction and archive. For you to pick and choose which one, there's not really any difference except archive has pictures for the episodes. So yeah, but if the links don't work, because YouTube might be being weird with me or something with my videos and links and that, you can just go on the website, either archive or fanfiction, whichever one you choose, and you can search the author's name, which is also in the description below as well, which is LizzeXX, but with one eye. So yeah, their name is in the description below. So yeah, highly recommend you go full, get the chapter up and follow along, because I have a habit of accidentally skipping words or missing words. No, that's the same thing. Sorry. I have a habit of skipping words, and I also have a habit of stuttering over words that I struggle with. So, let's just get right into this with Chapter 11, Tooth and Claw. Lupus et Estus. In the dining room of the Torchwood Estate, the head monk entered, glancing at the people sitting around the table. The Queen and her guard were on one side, with the doctor on the other, an empty chair beside him. Sir Robert sitting at the head with another empty chair at the other end. Your young companion begs an apology, Doctor, he called. Her clothing has somewhat delayed her. Oh, that's all right, the doctor nodded. Save her a wee bit of ham. The feral child could probably eat it raw, the Queen commented with a small smirk. The captain laughed heartily at that, just a bit too heartily. Very wise, ma'am. Very witty. The Queen turned a surprising gaze on him. Slightly witty, perhaps. I know you rarely get the chance to dine with me, Captain, but don't get too excited. I shall contain my wit in case I do you further injury. Yes, ma'am, he replied meekly, clearing his throat. Sorry, ma'am. The doctor looked back at the staff member. Manager? Your wife? He began, smirking. Apologizes for being late, a voice said from behind the man, causing him to stiffen, an expression on his face as though he couldn't believe she was there, appearing for only a moment before it disappeared, though the doctor didn't notice as his gaze was locked on something just behind the man. Angel stepped into the room, and the doctor could just barely refrain from letting his jaw hit the table as he stared at her. She was wearing a beautiful dark red, high-collared, corseted dress with long sleeves and a slightly rumpled skirt. There were very thin black lines running down it. Her hair, her lovely golden hair, was hanging freely around her face, framing it. It wasn't often she let her hair down, liking it more held back and out of the way in its claw-like clip. She always said that hair could get in the way when repairing a TARDIS, and now even more so in their adventures. But now it was hanging, a bit more curled than it typically was, given that it had been twisted into the clip. It was only held back slightly by two red clips on either side of her head. She smiled warmly at the doctor, whose eyes had widened and stared at her unblinkingly. I hope I did not keep you waiting long, she recited, trying her best to mimic the Queen's speech. She was dressed the part of a woman from 1879. She thought it best to try and speak like one as well. Not at all, the Queen smiled, glancing at the doctor, who seemed to have forgotten how to speak himself as he openly gaped at his wife. She could see it exactly at that moment, though she had been able to see it all along, just how much the man loved his wife, though now it would be obvious to most anyone. She seen the way he looked at her, how his focus was always on her. He was always touching her or holding her hand. He truly looked at the woman as he was now, as though she were the center of his universe, like she was his whole world, which she didn't doubt. That was how her own husband often looked at her, and she him. She could see the young girl looking at him now with the same look, that same softness in her eyes. She stared at her husband as though he were the most remarkable man she'd ever met, as though he held her very heart in his hand, which she could tell both did. Ah, young love. Angel nodded her thanks to the Queen before taking a seat beside the doctor, who had jumped up to pull her seat out for her, ever the gentleman. You look beautiful, he whispered to her sincerely, just taking her appearance as she sat back down. She blushed and smiled at that. It might just make a habit of this. Oh, what? He asked, still unable to take his eyes off her. Neither of them noticing the head staff member stepping over to one of his fellows and speaking angrily with the man, both casting glances over at Angel. Dressing for the period. Why? Captain Jack was right about one thing. You do blend in more. She smiled. And that's quite a bit of fun too. She blinked. Do you think we could go to the 1920s one day? She asked him quietly. I'd love to be a flapper. He grinned at her, chuckling a bit as he nodded. Anything and everything she wanted, he'd do his best to provide. He had someone clear their throat and glance over at the captain, who seemed a bit uncomfortable with their whispered words, still not too trusting of the doctor. And he noticed that while the Queen was smiling softly at them, Robert seemed to be very nervous. Come, Sir Robert, he called, drawing the man's attention away from the staff. You promised us a tale of nightmares. Indeed, the Queen nodded. Since my husband's death, I find myself with more of a taste for supernatural fiction. You must miss him terribly, Angel commented softly, looking at the woman sadly. She looked over at the young couple. Very much, she said quietly, watching as the doctor took Angel's hand. I hope you do not ever have to experience a loss like that as early as I did. She trailed off, seeming very sad before shaking her head. And that's the charm of a ghost story, isn't it? Not the scares and chills, that's just for children, but the hope of some contact with the great beyond. We all want some message from that place. It is the Creator's greatest mystery that we are allowed no such consolation. Dead stay silent, and we must wait. Angel squeezed Doctor's hand, both of them revolving their pupils. Come, begin your tale, Sir Robert. There's a chill in the air. The wind is howling through the eaves. Tell us of monsters. Don't make a sound, Lady Isabel warned Rose as they sat, staring at the man in the cage. They said if we scream or shout, then he'll slaughter us. But he's in a cage, Rose countered. He's a prisoner. He's the same as us. He's nothing like us, Isabel replied, her voice full of fear. That creature is not mortal. The man raised his head slowly and opened his eyes, revealing them to be completely black. Everyone whimpered and jerked back as Rose stared, scared. The story goes back 300 years, Robert started. Every full moon, a howling rings through the valley. The next morning, livestock is found ripped apart and devoured. Tales like this just disguise the work. Beasts, the captain cut in short. Steal a sheep and claim a wolf. Simple as that. The Queen looked a bit irritated at that. But sometimes a child goes missing. Once in a generation, a boy will vanish from his homestead. Rose stood and took a step towards the man. Don't, child! Isabel cried, but she ignored her, slowly edging towards the man, the chains rattling. She knelt down and the chains let her go as far as she could get. Who are you? Don't rage him, the steward warned. Where are you from? You're not from Earth. What planet are you from? Oh, intelligence, the man spoke. Where were you born? This body, 10 miles away. A weakling, sick boy, stolen away at night by the brethren of my cultivation, carved out his soul, fattening his heart. What does this creature look like? Angel asked, a bit curious. She was almost certain it was some sort of alien. She just had a feeling. There was little on Earth that wasn't human or known to them. Anything that wasn't had to be alien. And while she wasn't very good at identifying all alien species, she knew the doctor would probably have a better time of it. But she could help. Oh, there are drawings of wood carvings, Robert sighed. And it's not merely a wolf. It's more than that. This is a man who becomes an animal. A werewolf. The doctor started to smile, interested now. Alright, so the body's human. But what about you? Rose asked. The thing inside. So far from home, it sighed. If you want to get back home, we can help. Why would I leave this place? A world of industry, of workforce and warfare. Why return it to such purpose? How would you do that? I would migrate to the Holy Monarch. You be Queen Victoria. With one bite, I would pass into her blood, and then it begins. The Empire. So many questions. He suddenly lunged forward, making everyone jump. Look, inside your eyes. You've seen it too. See what? She gasped. The wolf. There is something of the wolf about me. You've seen it. Rose stared at him, hardly daring to breathe as she recalled the whole bad wolf of school, how she had been meant to become a bad wolf, whatever that was, but how Angel had saved her from that fate. I don't know what you mean. You saw her burn like the sun, he hissed, as though reading her mind. But all I require is the moon. My father didn't treat it as a story, Robert added. He said it was fact. He even claimed to have communed with the beast, to have learned its purpose. Angel looked over as the head monk's attention shifted to something out the window. I should have listened. He glanced at the monk as well, and, seeing him distracted, began to speak quickly, seizing his only chance. His work was hindered. He made enemies. There's a monastery at the glen of St. Catherine. The brethren opposed my father's investigations. Perhaps they thought his work ungodly, the Queen offered. That's what I thought. But now I wonder, what if they had a different reason for wanting the story kept quiet? Ada put her hand on the doctor's arm, leading his attention to the monk staring at the window, chanting in Latin under his breath, the words Lupus Deus Est reaching them. What if they turned from God and worshipped the wolf? And what if they were with us right now? The doctor agreed, his eyes on the monk. The doors of the cell were thrown open from the side, the ones leading out to the yard, and the moonlight flooded in, straight over the man as he pressed his face against the bars with a smile. Moonlight! The prisoners shifted uncomfortably, not knowing what that meant, and suddenly the man shed his coat and grasped the bars of the cage furiously. All of you! Rose shouted urgently, realizing what was happening, working it out. Stop looking at it! Flora, don't look! Listen to me. Grab hold of the chain and pull. She turned and pulled on the chain. Come on, with me. Pull. There was a growling from the cage as Isabel looked on in horror. I said pull. Stop your whining and listen to me, all of you. And that means you, your ladyship. Now come on, pull. They all stood up to help Rose pull the chain, trying to tear it out the wall. What is the meaning of this? The Queen demanded as the room broke out into chaos, the monk still chanting, all of them jumping up, the doctor tugging Angel behind him as he glared at the monk. Explain yourself, Sir Robert. The captain pulled out his gun and turned it on Robert. What's happening? The Queen looked around. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. They've got my wife, Robert pleaded. Rose? The doctor shouted, dropping his accent. Where's Rose? Where is she? Angel suddenly turned and ran out of the room. The doctor ran after her, calling, Sir Robert, come on! They both ran out of the room, following Angel as the captain turned his gun on Monk, ready to defend his queen. The man was slowly transforming into a wolf, screaming in pain as his skin bulged horribly, his screams turning to growls. Free! Pull! Rose shouted as they all tugged on the chain, desperate. 1, 2, 3, pull! Tell me, sir, the captain demanded of the monk. I demand to know your intention. Lupus Est, he continued to chant, not at all disturbed by the man holding a gun to him. Lupus Est, what is it that you want? The monk stopped chanting and turned to the captain. The throne, and suddenly he wrenched the gun aside and hit the captain across the face, knocking him out as the Queen watched in shock. Where are we going? Robert shouted as he followed the doctor, following Angel. No idea, he replied, still following the girl, trusting her. She'd done this before, on New Earth, in a hospital. When the infected had been swarming, she led them down, through corridors, right to Cassandra's hiding room, a safe spot for them to figure out what to do. If she had been able to lead them to safety then, perhaps she would be able to lead them to Rose now. The wolf had completely transformed, growling and flexing its claws at the prisoners, making them scream. 1, 2, 3, pull! Rose shouted, and suddenly the chain came free. In there! They heard a woman's voice shout on the other side of the door moments before it was kicked down by the doctor. Where the hell have you two been? Rose demanded as the trio ran into the room. Dinner, Angel replied, rushing forward to help some of the maids who had fallen when the chain came free up and pushing them towards the door. The doctor turned to see what was happening and stared at the werewolf with wide eyes. Oh, that's beautiful. Get out! Robert shouted to his wife. The wolf began gripping the bars tightly, bending them, stabbing them, before throwing the top of the cage off. Look at you. The doctor started smiling and stared at the werewolf. Not the best time, Angel yelled, getting the doctor's attention back as the staff clambered out the room. Right, the doctor shouted, ushering them out. Out, 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 out. Come on, Rose urged. The wolf threw the rest of the cage across the room. Narrowly missing the doctor, Angel grabbed his hand and pulled him from the room, all of them running from it. The doctor slamming the door behind him and locking it in the stomach. The wolf howled at the moon. The queen stared down the monk. I take it, sir, that you halted my train to bring me here? We have waited so long for one of your journeys to the side of the moon, he replied. Then you have waited in vain. After 6 attempts on my life, she pulled a small gun from her bag and pointed it at him, her hands shaking. I am hardly unprepared. Oh, I don't think so, woman. The correct form of address is Your Majesty, she replied, pulling the trigger. The steward handed guns to all these men as they crowded around the room. Arms, your strife. Ready, everyone? He turned to Isabel. Take the girls. Get them out through the kitchen. Isabel shook her head and walked over to her husband. I can't leave you. What will you do? I must defend Her Majesty, he breathed. Now, don't think of me. Just go. She kissed him, pulling away Tom tightly, when she felt a hand on her arm. She turned to see Angel standing there behind her with a small smile on her face, trying to comfort the woman as best she could. She hated seeing people sad, and she knew what the woman was feeling. It was what she felt whenever she found herself separated from the doctor. A terrible fear, wondering what he would do if he was hurt, if she would see him again. And the worst part was, she was never sure of the tiny feeling inside her, like she just knew he'd be alright, was just wishful thinking or real sensation. Anything she could do to help the woman, to offer her this one comfort of knowing she'd see her husband again, she would do. I'll keep an eye on him, Angel promised the woman who looked unsure. Trust me, she added, glancing back at the doctor. I know how you feel. Isabel nodded thankfully, seeing and understanding the look, and gathered her maids. All of you, at my side. Come on. She pulled them through to the halls as Angel walked back over to the doctor as he tried to use the sign to release Rose from her manacles. It could be any form of light modulated species triggered by specific wavelengths. Did it say what it wanted? He asked very quickly. The queen, the crown, the throne, you name it. Rose remarked. Frederick, Angel offered quickly. Or Fred? Rose just stared at her, shaking her head. What? Fred, she repeated. You said to name it. She nudged Rose as though reminding her of what she said, not seeming to notice that hadn't quite been what the girl had been asking. I think Fred suits it. I don't know why. She shrugged. Oh, she realized something. Did you have another name in mind? Rose blinked before having to smile at that. Oh, Angel, that was so her. She really would have to explain expressions like that to her when this was all over, but for now, it really was very sweet how the time lady answered questions that didn't need an answer. So instantly. There was a bumping sound from the cellar, cutting off Rose's thoughts as we looked around. The doctor slowly ventured into the corridor to investigate, only to see the wolf at the other end. They stared at each other a minute longer before the wolf ran after him. The doctor ran back into the room, grabbing Rose and Angel's hand and pulling them behind the line of men. Fire! The steward shouted as they shot at the wolf. Fire! Isabel and the maids ran through the kitchen, trying to get out the back door, only to find it locked. It won't open. They've filled us in. Oh, my lady, look, Flora called, Isabel joining her at the window to see the monks surrounding the house with guns, poised and ready. They'll never let us out. They mean for us to die. Don't say that, Flora. Isabel pulled the girl into a hug. The room filled with smoke from the guns, but there was no sign of the wolf. All right, you men, we should retreat upstairs. Come with me, the doctor ordered. I'll not retreat, the steward said. Battle's done. But the guns didn't stop Fred, Angel told him, not seeming to notice their stares at her, dubbing the wolf trying to kill them all as Fred, and all their disbelieving looks at how she claimed their guns had failed them. The guns won't work on him. Listen to her. Come with us. The doctor agreed, and probably would have been chuckling a bit at Fred had the situation not been so dire. What would a woman know about guns? The steward sneered, making the doctor glare at him in defense of Angel. There's no creature on God's earth that can survive such an assault. I'm telling you, come upstairs, the doctor shouted angrily. I'm telling you, sir, that I will sleep well tonight with that thing's hide upon my wall. The steward turned and stormed across the room, looked down the corridor for the wolf. They all watched him carefully. He stood there a moment longer before striding back. Must have crawled away to die. Angel suddenly grabbed the doctor's arm. A moment before the steward was lifted right up and through the ceiling by the wolf. The sounds of him being devoured drifting down to them. There's nothing we can do, the doctor called, ushering frozen Angel out the room with him, while some of the firing squad remained behind, stunned, frozen, before opening fire on the wolf again, both in retaliation of their fallen friend and to try and stop the wolf from attacking again. They failed. Isabel and her maids listened to the firing in fear. Did they kill it? Flora whispered. The firing just died off. Soft pat of paws on the floor reached them, drawing nearer and nearer to the kitchens. Isabel and the maids backed into the corner of the room. Isabel wrapping her arms around them as they crouched down, her eyes fixed on the doorway when the wolf appeared in the doorway. Fixed on the door when the wolf appeared in the doorway. She screwed her eyes shut and looked away. The wolf sniffed the air and then just turned and left. She opened her eyes and looked around, confused. The Queen grabbed the wooden box out of the safe, stowing it in her handbag, before rushing out of the room and down the stairs where the doctor, Rose, Angel, and Robert had just entered from a room at the bottom. The doctor shoved the door shut behind them and locked it with the sonic. Your Majesty! Robert's eyes widened, seeing her running down the stairs. Your Majesty! Sir Robert! She cried. What's happening? I heard such terrible noises. Your Majesty, we've got to get out. But what of Father Angelo? Is he still here? Captain Reynolds disposed of him. The front door's no good. The doctor dashed over to them. Been boarded shut. Pardon me, Your Majesty, you'll have to leg it out of the window. He gestured through a door, and the Queen of Blinds with her head held high. Robert followed, and they found themselves in another room. Excuse my manners, ma'am. Robert stepped forward. But I shall go first. The better to assist Her Majesty's egress. A noble sentiment, my sir, Walter Page. The Queen nodded. Angel glanced up at the doctor. That is English, right? She pointed subtly at the Queen and Robert. She was able to understand this for most part, but she found she was much better at understanding modern English, like what Rose and Mickey spoke. Yes, he nodded at her, before noticing Robert was still inside, just standing at the window looking out. Any chance you could hurry up? He asked impatiently. He was getting nervous. The longer they were there, the better the wolf's chances of finding them, and he did not want that to happen. Not with Angel there. He didn't ever want her to be in danger or hurt, not while he was around to protect her. It was his job as her mate to keep her protected, happy, safe, and these he was really worth taking far too long in their escape. Robert nodded and began to climb onto the windowsill, only to have Angel dash forward and pull him down just before the monks outside, hidden in the darkness, started shooting at him. The doctor ran forward, checking to make sure she hadn't been hurt or caught by a bullet before glancing out the window, his eyes wide. I reckon monkey boys want us to stay inside. Do they know who I am? The Queen demanded, ignorant at the thought. Yeah, that's why they want you, Rose nodded. The wolf, Fred, Angel added. Rose smoked a bit, trying not to laugh, when she realised maybe that's why Angel had given a name, Fred. Much less scary to call it Fred than a werewolf. It winds you up for a biting. Now, stop this talk. There can't be an actual wolf. As soon as the words had left her mouth, a howling rang through the house. They spun around, alarmed, and ran out the room, into the hallway with the stairs, as the wolf slammed against the door the doctor had locked before. What do we do? Rose asked. We run, the doctor shouted. Is that it? You got any silver bullets? Not on me, no. There we are then. We run, he decided, turning to the Queen. Your Majesty and the doctor, I recommend a vigorous jog. He jogged in place to demonstrate. Good for the health. Come on. He grabbed the Queen's hand and led her from the room, all of them running as fast as they could up the staircase. The wolf managed to crash through the door as soon as they reached the top and bounded after them. Come on, come on! They turned and ran down a corridor, the wolf on their tails, almost ready to pounce when, Duck! Angel shouted, halfway rose to the ground with her as they all dropped down, just as the captain appeared before them, shooting the wolf, making it reel backwards down the corridor. They dashed past him, around a corner, to another corridor. I'll take this position and hold it, he panted. You keep moving, for God's sake. Your Majesty, I went to look for the property. It was taken. The chest was empty. I have it, she told him. Safe. Then remove yourself, ma'am. Doctor, you stand her as Her Majesty's protector. You, Sir Robert, you are a traitor to the crown. He readied his gun. Bullets can't stop it, the doctor cried. They'll buy you time. Now run. He positioned himself at the end of the corridor, gun ready, waiting for the wolf. Angel turned, looking down the corridor, her gaze shifting over all the rooms and turned at the end. This way, she called. These are the Queen and Robert away, down the corridor, followed by the doctor and then Rose. She led them right to a library, all of them piling in but Rose, who stopped outside the door and watched the captain shot at the wolf till it pounced on him and ripped them apart. Rose! Angel shouted, seeing her frozen. The doctor rushed out the door, grabbed her, and pulled her back into the room, Angel slamming the door shut behind them. The doctor and Robert quickly got to work barricading the doors with chairs and bits of wood. Wait a minute. Shh. Wait a minute. The doctor hushed them for a moment. They listened to the wolf howl and fall silent. It stopped. He looked back to see Rose holding a hand to the wood of the wall, leaning on it as though listening through the wall. He watched her close her eyes and focus before opening them. I think Fred's leaving, she whispered. Listen, Rose muttered, hearing the footsteps of the wolf head away. The library fell into dead silence as they waited, listening. Is this the only door? He whispered to Robert. Yes, he answered quickly, before realizing. No, he dashed over to another door, the doctor helping him barricade it shut. Shh! Rose and Angel hissed at them, listening as the wolf made a sound, and then walked away again. I don't understand. Rose shook her head. What's stopping it? Something inside this room, Angel replied as Robert fell down on one of the chairs, his head in his hand. What is it? The doctor turned to her, confused. Why can't it get in? She looked around the room a moment as though trying to see what it could be that had kept the wolf back, but she couldn't see a thing. I don't know, she shook her head. He stepped towards her and took her hand. You led us here for a reason. What was it? A feeling. I felt safe, strong. The walls were strong. She paused a moment to think, before shaking her head again, unable to offer any more explanation. I'm sorry. It's all right. The doctor put an arm around her, comforting her. He knew she was getting frustrated. There were times where she would say something exactly spot on, clear prediction, and other times when she did not have the faintest idea why she said something that made no sense at all. And then there were times she'd say something so ordinary that she wouldn't even realize it was a feeling or a prediction till much later. Those were the ones that frustrated her the most, to not even be able to tell. I'll tell you what, though, Rose stepped over, trying to comfort the girl as well. What? She looked up. Oh! Rose grinned, and they won for Angel as well. Hello, the doctor agreed as the three of them laughed a bit. Are you alright, Rose? Angel asked. Okay, yeah. She nodded. I'm sorry, ma'am. Robert said from behind them. It's all my fault. I should have sent you away. I tried to suggest something was wrong. I thought you might notice. Do you think there was nothing strange about my household staff? Well, they were bold, athletic. The doctor trailed. Your wife's away. I just thought you were happy. They were wrong, Angel murmured, agreeing that she had noticed something. I'll tell you what, though, ma'am. Bet you're not amused now. Rose turned to the Queen. And that's the end of chapter 11. So, we also, if you're on Archive, there is a little picture with Doctor and Angel sitting at the dining table with, I'm guessing, one of the monks in the back, or one of the servants, because they look like they're wearing, like, a suit. They don't look like a monk, but they might be a monk. I don't know. One of the monks, so, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe. Go leave a review, comment, kudos, all that. We're done here. So before you do, be sure to subscribe. Upload new videos every Friday and Saturday. And I'll see you guys next Friday with a new video.